Walt Whitman High was where I yearned to go to school when I was growing up in Indiana in the 1960s and 70s, and I'm sure I'm far from the only member of the TV generation feeling as much loyalty to the fictional but genuine setting of the popular ABC comedy drama Room 222 as to my actual high school. This program, which aired from 1969 to 1974, succeeded with viewers and critics while being an enjoyable yet much deeper show than the escapist fun that predominated on TV. Room 222 brilliantly took the nation to school on so many personal, political, and generational issues with an intelligence and wit that made it simply the best U.S. sitcom ever. This James L. Brooks created show expanded American entertainment by using the high school setting to explore social controversies and issues of personal freedoms, neither strictly through the lens of the rebellious teenager nor the experienced adult professional, but through a hybrid of those two. The show achieved many nuanced balances that elude most popular culture attempts to portray American high schools. Room 222 was not raucous me generation like Welcome Back, Kotter, but it also refused to be the Mr. Novak like pristine image of the teaching profession as gloriously noble. The show set at Walt Whitman High School in Los Angeles and inspired by a novel called Room 222, based on a real high school in Tucson, Arizona, frequently empathized with late 60s, early 70s youth culture, yet it did not present the teachers as rigid authoritarians a la The Breakfast Club and other teen appeal entertainment that used anti authority outrage bait. Room 222 was a rare achievement for a television comedy drama in that it neither took itself too seriously nor took a dumbed down approach. There are elements in the show of the Hill Street Blues Saint Elsewhere formula of a decade later. Like those shows, Room 222 departs with conventional pieties about long trusted institutions, but it is not as blatantly cynical as those 80s comedy dramas. Walt Whitman High is shown as a place of resilient hope for education being a tool to enlighten, but it's hope grounded in the real world. Room 222 portrays teaching as an art and a struggle that is as often impeded as supported by the greater system. And the youth rebellion and political tensions of the late 60s and early 70s are more than just a backdrop for the show. Social relevancy is at the heart of many plots, which center on women's liberation, consumer protection, racial equality, and environmentalism. Other episodes take meaningful looks at such apolitical matters as a flu outbreak, a new student who fabricates stories to draw friends, a student who has a severe stutter, and a very touching episode where a rapid fire jokester student named Harvey breaks down in tears, admitting to his teacher, Mr. Dixon, that his prowess with one liners covers up his low self image, an issue on which Mr. Dixon gives him consoling advice.
Harvey, give yourself a chance. Try accepting yourself as you really are. And maybe other people will.
Easy to say.
I know it's not easy. But it's up to you. You're funny. But you use it as a shield. Anybody tries to make contact, you give them a joke, make them laugh. But you don't let anybody get too close. Harvey, don't be afraid to let people know who you really are.
Among cutting-edge controversies, Room 222 broached the matter of gay rights, though incompletely. There is a male student named Howard who tends toward the arts instead of sports, and after he reads a woman's part in a play, he faces suspicion and belittlement over his non-gendered norms. Though that alone wouldn't mean dealing specifically with his sexual orientation, during a staff meeting to discuss the bad treatment the student is getting, Principal Seymour Kaufman, played by Michael Constantine, uses the H word, which may have been a first for a television sitcom. Still, by today's standards, the episode wouldn't be fully pro-equality, as the principal, after discussing the harassment the student faces, speaks the words, "Do we have a second problem? Is Howard a homosexual?" For that matter, this very question is never definitively answered during the episode. It ends with Howard giving a courageous and persuasive "I've gotta be me" talk to his classmates, but without bringing up sexual orientation. We don't see Howard in any other episodes. Recurring or regulars among students include Jason, a bright, aware militant with a hardened exterior, played by Heshimu Kumbuka. Helen, a shy, conscientious girl, played by Judy Strangis. Larry, a lively, outspoken student, played by Eric Lanouville. Richie, a likable, studious nerd, played by Howard Rice. Bernie, a colorful, hairy, self-effacing, semi-hipster, played by David Jolliffe. And Pam, a stylish, passionate girl, played by Ta Tanisha. Karen Valentine plays a quintessential, idealistic English teacher named Alice Johnson, who looks and seems younger than some of the students, as she sometimes amusingly fumbles her way through the school day, though she's a competent and devoted teacher. Future performing legends Ed Begley Jr., Cindy Williams, Larry Linville, and Mark Hamill had one or more appearances on Room 222.
We actors got to love each other so much and loved working with each other so much that it lasted 5 years, and we could have gone 5 more because we just loved working together. And I mean, Lloyd was my best friend, and Denise Nicholas. I'm laughing because at one point she was married to Bill Withers, and eventually they broke up. And right after they broke up, when we came to work early one morning, and we're sitting in the makeup room, I am and Denise walks in, and I started singing, "Ain't no sunshine when he's gone." Oh, Lloyd was my best friend. I mean, he is, and it's strange that we were such good friends because his life had been so different from mine. I mean, Lloyd, he was some amazing kind of a guy who had been, it seemed like he had been in the Army and in the Marines. He loved flying. And when, right after the show Room 222 ended, I get a letter from the Navy, and they say, "You've been asked for a recommendation by Lloyd Haynes, who is joining," and it just said USM, USNR. And I called him up. I said, "Lloyd, what the hell are you doing? You're an actor. What are you joining the Navy?" He says, "I'm joining the Naval Reserve because I want to learn to fly jets." And he did. He went into the Navy. He learned how to fly those F-14 at the time fighter jets and everything like that. And he became a commander in the Naval Reserve. He was just an amazing guy. I love Karen. And Karen, really, I don't think, even though she won an Emmy the same night I won mine, I don't think she was properly appreciated, because that girl is a very talented actress. There was one scene we had in one episode where I kind of had to chastise her for doing something silly or whatever it was. And her emotional response was so real and perfect. And so, I mean, it was one of those very difficult things for an actor where you can see that she's really crying inside, but desperately trying not to show it.
Right.
And she was a very good actress. And but of course, because she was playing a kind of a dingbat character, you know, I don't think people realized how good she really was.
Gene Reynolds, who soon would be calling the shots on MASH, directed several early Room 222 episodes, and James L. Brooks and his future Mary Tyler Moore collaborator Alan Burns each wrote some scripts. One criticism of Room 222 is that black-white harmony is unrealistically nearly universal. In a school that is shown as being 15 to 20% black and which has Asian and Hispanic students, racism is certainly at the center of some episodes. But in Walt Whitman's student body, which is portrayed through a core of recurring characters along with one-offs and extras, all seem to be inclusive in their social groups. Hairstyles are popular for the time, afros among blacks and longer hair for whites. Though characters' dialects and cultural styles do tend to be contemporary for their respective races, there is overall a colorblindness between them which may be inauthentic. A clear instance is when a biracial throng clamors to get tickets to a Rolling Stones concert, with blacks and whites in the group expressing equally strong passions for the Stones. Where the show excels as a racial breakthrough is in the low-key romantic involvement between teacher Pete Dixon, played by Lloyd Haynes, and guidance counselor Liz McIntyre, played by Denise Nicholas. Both are erudite and comfortable with themselves, polished professionals in demeanor, yet not Afro-Saxonized via that false dichotomy to which network TV seems always to succumb. Like so much else in Room 222, Liz and Pete being black, without that fact being a departure from the show's primary identity, is a balance of the sort most TV producers have insisted is dramatically or demographically untenable. MASH and the Mary Tyler Moore Show couldn't or wouldn't develop their few black characters, yet at Walt Whitman High, the two lead credited performers are African American in an ensemble show immensely popular with audiences throughout almost all its 5-year run. Watching Room 222 as an 11 through 14-year-old gave me expectations that high school would be a beacon of light and inspiration among the social change movements of our time. Well, there were a few little bits of the Walt Whitman experience at my actual school. The one I attended was the oldest high school in Indiana, and some of its buildings resembled the historic Los Angeles High School, which was used for exterior shots of Walt Whitman High. And I remember a guidance counselor who was African American and was quite a bit like Liz McIntyre. And just down the hall from her was another office staff member named, interestingly, Alice Johnson. But aside from those coincidences, my actual high school experience was not very Room 222 like. High school for me was disappointing, particularly in comparison to the great ABC show, but I guess that clears the way for me to bask in all the wonderful memories of my years at Walt Whitman High.